Is that it? Can you hear me now? Can you hear me? Somebody say something. Let's see. Oh, good. Huh. I was curious. Okay. I'm glad we got that fixed. Okay, Blackbeard algae. Somebody asked about Blackbeard algae. There is nothing wrong with Blackbeard algae. It is not going to hurt your tank. It is not toxic in any way. It is an algae. I have a video. Maybe somebody could find the link and post it. It's called Algae is Your Bestie. Algae is a plant. And the only reason you have it is because you have plant nutrients and you don't have adequate plants in there to take up all those nutrients. So algae steps in the breach. If you have algae, the solution, if you don't like it, if you have it and don't like it, don't go in there and poison it and try to kill it and try to dig it all out. Don't do any of that. Put some more plants in. Put some higher order plants in. Here's the thing about algae. Algae is the, how can I put this? The last little kid to the dinner table. After everybody else is sitting there and grabbing food and eating, here's this little kid coming along who's been busy outside playing and finally realized the dinner bell rang. So he comes sauntering in, gets up on the table, and there's just a little bit left. So he takes what's left and he's happy. That's algae. Algae takes what's left. Algae is the last one to the dinner table. All of the other plants are better at getting nutrients than algae is. He's pretty slow. So if you have algae, it's because you have excess nutrients. The solution for that, look at your feeding. Pay attention to it. See what you're doing. See if you're putting too much food in. Very good chance you are. I need to move my camera. Excuse me for the fussing around so I can see the text. You need to you probably need to feed less. And it's also possible you just don't even have any plants. Because plants will grow in the presence of nutrients. So get a lot of plants. I have got a deal on plants on father.fish. That's our website. Father.fish. Come on over there and buy some plants. Man, have I got a deal on plants. Almost anything you want. And if there's something you want that you don't see listed, send me a note and ask me about it. I'm happy to get more plants in. Let's see, Steve Warren, how warm does it have to be in the area of delivery to get the plant bundle? It's cold there. Steve, I am sending it in cold weather. I haven't slowed down a bit, and everything is arriving in great shape. Unless it's down 30 below zero, where it's going to guaranteed freeze, it'll make it. Just go ahead and put the order in. If it freezes, I will make it good. But so far, everything is done really well. I'll tell you frankly, some early shipments I put heat packs in, that was a mistake. The heat packs cook the plants. The cold weather has been a benevolence to shipping plants. They prefer to be cold. So cold doesn't hurt them. Freezing will. If there's a chance they're going to freeze, if they're going to sit outside something, that's a whole other problem. see. Sketty said my plants arrived fine. I'm not sure what they are. I'm not sure either, Sketty. I'm going to start posting the names of the plants on future orders. I've changed the system around a little so I can get some nicer variety. Now, if you will, I've got about 10 different kinds of plants listed that are all minimum, I think, minimum 5. So if you order 3 groups, you'll get the $50 deal. So you get a savings on getting a couple of groups. ABC. Hello, ABC. Nice to see you. Let me jump up to the top here and scroll down and see if Jimmy, I thought I gave you a wrench, but maybe I did not. Well, I did. Okay. All right. Who says Micro Blues is here from Denmark. Nice to see you. Having testicle difficulty. I know, Jacob. It's, when you get 82, the things just happen. They just do. I'll tell you, it's made a better man out of me. Really has. We can go into that in another format, but glory. Zelko. Hello. We did the warm thing. Working on it. Good. We got it. Okay. I'm following the chat for looking for the sound. Rich Pelts. Hello, Rich Pelts. Let me get some. Here we go. I'm going to get some wrenches caught up here. And Sammy Whitehouse. Where's Sammy? Right there. All right. Diane Pappas. Let's see, Diane. We first of all get you a wrench, my dear. Okay. What do you feel is the best way to introduce new fish to your tank? Drip acclimation, etc. If so, can you talk a little bit about your answer and why? Yes, absolutely. That's a really, really good question. It depends on where you get your fish. So the first thing is to know the source. If you're getting fish from a place you trust, like from the tank in the hallway, or from the local store where you've been buying fish for years and they're always perfect, or a friend or some source that you're very familiar with and very comfortable with, it is likely that the water in both of those systems is the same or close to the same. Float the bag, open it up, and let the fish swim out. I never dump the bag in the water. If it's a place I trust, I will let the water in the tank. And I'll simply open the bag and let the fish swim out. If it is a source you don't know anything about, then you really ought to set up a separate tank as an acclimation tank to give them time to settle into your water and your routines, your fish room, so forth. A small tank will do. and it doesn't need to have anything in it. Now, if you can set it up with a deep substrate and plants and all of that, so much the better. It'll be nice for the fish to be able to do that. But quarantining, I used to not quarantine ever at all. I would look at the fish. If they looked healthy, I'd plop them in. But so much has been going on in the industry, in the shipping of fish and the handling of fish in the last few years, that I don't do that here. I don't just throw fish into a tank unless I'm very clear about where they've come from. Now, I've started working with a local shop. It's called Super Cichlids. They're located in Dover, Delaware. They acclimate their fish before they put them in their sale tanks. And I've looked carefully at their sale tanks. They are pristine. They are healthy. There's not a sick fish in any of them. So I trust what they're doing. The water conditions are similar to mine. I brought some fish home. I put them in the tank. Now, having said that, I put some killifish in the tank. They've been in here for a week and a half, going on 2 weeks. I have not seen them all day. They were looking a little bit fin clamped. Nothing visible, nothing obvious, just their tail fin. Their tail fin wasn't open and flared. It was closed. When you see a fish with a closed tail fin, it's not happy. There's something wrong. Now, in this case, my sense was that they really wanted to be in their own tank, and I did not have anything set up for them. I finally have got some tanks in place. I'm going to set them up so I can put killies in them. So if they're still alive in here, I'll move them into those tanks. If they're not, I'll replace them. But that was a function. It's a function of killies. Killies prefer to be a little cooler. They very much prefer to be alone, to be in their own tank. They do much better by themselves. I've got some little bettas in here that, let me show you this. We'll look at this a bit. I had some little baby bettas that were just born. There's one back there. Maybe they'll come to the front. They were born about 6 weeks ago, and they're now about half an inch. A few of them are a little better than half an inch. I have a few in here. This tank is looking a little bit, there's the betta, right there, a little bit cloudy to me. I don't know what that is. I have been mucking around here a bit, so it's possible that it's simply mold that's been stirred up. The fish seem okay. The plants all seem okay. The water is not crystal clear. It's slightly cloudy. It may be that those killies have died and have created some bacteria. It's unlikely, but it's certainly possible. It could just be that it's stirred up by the stuff I've been doing. Here's a little goby. He's a cool guy. Now, I've had him in here for about 3 months. So I know I have a healthy tank. That's a somewhat difficult fish to keep. These are pencil fish, Beck 40s, I believe. I haven't spawned yet, and I don't know if I've got any females. I know I got males. I'm not sure I have females. I don't know that that's, I don't know. Anyway, I lost track of what we were talking about. Oh, acclimating. What you want to do is for fish coming in, if you were to buy fish from Father Fish, you don't know Father Fish. You don't know how Father's fish will do in your tanks. So it would be good to quarantine. Partly it's a matter of the fish getting used to your water conditions. Partly it's also a matter of making sure there's nothing wrong with the fish. They're not sick in any way. They're not carrying a disease. It's not always obvious up front. They may have an internal parasite that's not obvious yet. Any number of possibilities. So that's what I recommend doing. You can plop fish right in the tank if you're satisfied with where they're coming from and you're sure they're going to be okay. Otherwise, take your time, set up a little tank. I've got a couple of little tanks here. These are the ones I'm gonna set up as killing tanks and acclimating tanks. So I'll have some. They're just 5 gallons, which is more than adequate. I'm only dealing in little fish. Okay, let me move. Oh dear. I don't have enough room here. Uh-oh. Now what did I do? I just lost my screen altogether. Where'd it go? Oh, there it is. All right. Then, Diana, did I give you a wrench? I did. Let's see. Devil dog. I don't have a lot of space here is my problem. I'm kind of jammed in. Oh, that's better. There, that's better. All right. Oh, that's funny. Wing says, "Hi, Father Fish. Is heavy water better than watery water?" You've been watching the new video. Yeah, we had some fun with that. The 5 ways, if you hadn't figured it out, are the 5 senses. Use your 5 senses. Use your body to interface with your tank. Touch it, smell it, taste it if you dare. Listen to it. I can't tell you how many times I've heard things that have triggered a response to something that was wrong. Pumps are obvious. Dripping water is a very obvious one. You know, use all of your senses when you're dealing with your tank. Heavy water or watery water? Right. That is a fun video. I am so delighted. Priscilla, I think it was talking about how much she enjoyed it. Dead Man's Will, who is a fellow from a province in India, don't know what province, he's been editing my recent videos, which is why they look better, why they're more interesting and viewable, because we have somebody who knows what they're doing, who is putting together viewable videos, and It's really wonderful. Blackbeard algae versus green algae, Jimmy. I think I dealt with that a few minutes ago. Blackbeard is fine. It's not a problem. The difference is they're two different kinds of algae. Typically, blackbeard will grow where there's less light. Green algae will overcome and dominate black algae. But if you have very little light, very low light, a lot of nutrients, and not many plants, you likely will get blackbeard algae. And all it's doing is consuming nutrients. It's not doing a thing wrong. It's being a good little plant, doing what plants do. Don't be angry with it. It'll be fine. If you don't like it, then encourage some other plants to move in. And it'll get kind of pushed out of the way. Very sad, but I can appreciate you may not like it. It looks yucky to some people. There are others who think it's beautiful. So, it's just an algae. Shrimp seem to get rid of it overnight whenever I manage to see a little bit. Shrimp love algae. They're great. They're like cattle. They're wonderful grazers. ABC, hello, hello. Sketty Nona. Plants, we did that. 20 below wind chill. That's a little cold. Now, if it's going to be hand delivered to you, if it's not sitting outside, if it's in the truck, it likely will be fine. I'll tell you what I would recommend is you wait a couple of weeks. Wait until you get through the worst of it. Maryland normally is dead freezing all through February. Tomorrow it's going to be 70 degrees. I mean, I left Florida for this. Goodness sakes. So we're not having much in the way of problems. But you might want to wait a week or two if it's real bad there. Hello, hello. Let's see, who else? Mexicala Fish Keeper. You just realized I was here? Well, thank you. Glad you did, Mexicali. Nice to see you. Zolko. Being that your water is alkaline, did it help with reducing acid-preferring bacteria like fish TB? Well, that's a really good question. And I don't have an answer for you. I don't know. Let me suggest this to our research group and have them poke around a little bit. Typically, a low pH is better for bacteria control because bacteria don't survive in very acid water. Now, you're suggesting that the tuberculosis that's not a fungus, that's a virus, I think, that it is acid, that it's acid preferring, that it prefers acid. I don't know a thing about that. Let me have some people look into it. It's certainly worth investigating, and I will get back to you. Steve Warren smelled things. Right, I know. Peplin is here. Hey, Peplin Creek. Nice to see you. Ray Sparks. Let's see if we can find Ray here and get him a wrench. Where there he is, right there. Silver Creek is one of our stalwarts on our 24/7 live stream, and he has a wonderful fish room. He's doing a lot of funny shorts, just, music background, kind of goofball stuff. Try to get his website out. So do get over, visit it. Visit Silver Creek. Post your link, please, Silver Creek. Happy to promote you. He's doing some deep substrates. He's just doing everything. And he has wonderful tanks. Really worth a visit. Let's see. I think I'm all the way down, am I? What got me into the hobby? What got me into the hobby? My grandmother. I've been around tanks since I was a baby. My grandmother had tanks. My parents didn't. And in fact, it was rather strange the way it worked. When I was about 8 or 9 years old, might have been 10, but I think it was younger, like 8 or 9. I found a snake. We were visiting my grandparents, and I found a snake. It was amazing. It was a ribbon snake, a long green snake. I don't know how big it was. I thought it was 3 foot long. It probably was 18 inches or so. Totally harmless snake. Skinny, thin, green, beautiful snake. I brought it into the house at my grandparents'. Now, my grandmother was not afraid of snakes. She was fine with it. That day, my grandfather had given my brother and I, my brother and me, had given my brother and me a pen reel because we had worked for him cleaning out his chicken coop. I mean, it was a big job and a lot of work, and it took a week to do, but we got it done. I needed something to put the snake in, so I took the reel out. I don't know where I put it. Put the snake in the box and set the box on the sideboard. Later on, when I was not around, my father came in. Now, I heard this because I never saw the snake again. In point of fact, the box disappeared, I think. My father was a city boy, and my father was one gutsy dude. He would take anybody on, and did, before he became a minister and a man of God and a peacemaker. He was a brawler. I mean, he umpired professional baseball for the old International League. That was the Black League back in the 1940s. He was the only white man in a park of 5,000 black people. And he was, by God, respected for his authority because he was the umpire. He didn't take any guff off anybody. Incredible man. His father, when he was a little kid, his parents were deaf. They had no hearing and no speech. They used sign language. And he'd be out on the street, and kids would be poking fun at his parents. So he'd get into a fight with them. He'd beat them up, and he'd come in with a black eye and torn shirt, and all beat up. And his father'd say, "You been fighting? You fighting?" He said, "Yeah, I'm fighting." Father'd grab him, throw him over his leg, and beat him again. So, anyway, my father was that kind of guy. Snake totally freaked him out. Now, I was not around to see it, and I heard that they let it loose. That's all I heard. 2 days later, my father came to me. In the meantime, my mother had told me what happened, that my father wanted to look at the reel, opened the box, and the snake came flying up at him. Well, I didn't hear anything about it for about 2 days, and then my father came to me and he said, "Look, son, I'll make a deal with you. If if you never bring another snake in the house, I will give you a fish tank. Well, my heart stopped. I could not imagine a greater thrill or joy. I was I was all for it. I'm all in on that. I never brought another snake in the house. But boy, did I have fish tanks. We started with one. We moved from Odenton, Maryland when I was 15 to Baltimore. And then we had a basement. And I started collecting fish tanks as a 16-year-old. I had about a dozen tanks in the basement. So, yeah, but my grandmother had tank. She always had a tank. Never knew her to have two. She had one. She was an old German lady. And that was just a thing like houseplants. You just did a fish tank. But it, again, as I say, it was never more than one. And somehow we never got around to getting it until the snake became an issue. And that worked out real well. Let's see. Supporting from Georgia, Mr. V. Nice to see you. What do you think of open top tanks? I've got some because I can't find glass for them. I refuse to buy glass. It's too expensive, and I've not been able to find anything cover. I do not like open glass tanks. I mean open top tanks, unless you got plants growing up out of them, and that's a reason to do it. Otherwise, I'm in a situation here where they'll evaporate an inch a day. I mean, it's insane. Cluster. I want to get cluster. And I just saw Ray Sparks says, how do you quarantine your fish? I do not, no, I do not quarantine with chemicals. As best I can, I try to put them in a tank that is set up the way the destination tank will be set up. It's not a hospital tank. It's a regular fish tank, but a little tiny one. So I've got some deep substrate in there. I've got plants in there. It's a natural, normal tank. I put them in there by themselves to make sure they're going to be okay. And I leave them in there for about 2 weeks. If they're fine in 2 weeks and I still want to move them, then I'll do that. Very often they'll do so well, I'll just leave them in there and start that as a new tank and then set up another little tank. But no, I almost never use any kind of chemical at all. I'll give you an idea of how serious I am about this. I don't have chlorine now, but when I did, when I was in Florida, it was free chlorine. There was no ammonia in it, so there were no chloramines. It was just free chlorine. Free chlorine is a gas. It dissipates off. If once the water comes in contact with the air, it's gone just instantly. So when I put water in the tank, I would turn the nozzle on the hose so it sprayed. And that instantly released all the chlorine. So there was never chlorine in the water. The spraying was adequate to be able to get rid of the chlorine. The only time I use chemicals is if I have a dread disease, and then I always do it in a hospital tank. I never medicate a main tank. Never. Under any circumstances. I mean, if I have a parasite infestation in the tank, I won't medicate it. I'll find a natural way of getting rid of the parasites. Ick is a perfect example. It's a parasite. You get rid of it by raising the temperature. 85 degrees, 86 degrees, and it's gone in a matter of days. Other parasites, Um, can be some of them like larger ones that attach to fish. You can take the fish out and physically remove it. The little ones will be eaten. Baby parasites are eaten by fish and other predators in the tank. Other parasites eat parasites. There are parasites that eat parasites. I mean, that's one of the benefits of having a very rich biodiversity in your tank. It takes care of itself. If there's some problem actor in there, there's bound to be somebody lurking around who can do them in and will, given half an opportunity. So I just don't. J-Dog is here. Hey, J-Dog. Would have grown my own hornwort and duckweed. You can find duckweed this spring. You'll have duckweed all over the place down there. You'll be able to get it out of any number of ponds. There'll be ponds full of it. Hornwort too, for that matter, if you look around a little. I don't have any right now. Oh my God. Just stepped on my glass top barefoot. So I'm currently open top. I hope you didn't break it. I hope you didn't cut your foot, Chester. Yeah, I know what that's like. When I take them off, I set them upright. I don't lay them flat. I prop them up where they can't fall over between something or between the tank and the wall, whatever. I prop them up until I'm finished what I'm doing. Let's see, I'm trying to find, where are you? There. Sylvester. I swear the only person in the hobby online that isn't full of crap. Oh dear God. I do hear you. I had somebody, Luke, sent me a link, and I'm not going to mention names here, God, to a YouTuber who has 150,000 subscribers. Honest to God, 150,000 subscribers. And he's sitting in there giving out information like it's candy. And I watched him until I couldn't stand it anymore, about 15 minutes. He did not say one thing, and he must have given out 100 pieces of advice. There was not one single thing he said that made any sense at all. Now, that's not to say he was lying and didn't know what he was doing. Here's the thing. He was coming out of a tradition of keep your tank sterile. You want it barren of any life except the fish you put in it. Now, I know and you know that that is a recipe for absolute disaster. Forestalling that disaster is what the industry, the tropical fish industry, the dry goods part of it, has grown up on. So there are literally thousands of chemicals and treatments and devices and you name it that have been put out there to try to help you keep your water absolutely sterile. So that's the battle we're fighting. And there are people who are adamant about it. They can't see any other way because that's what they've grown up on. I'll tell you something, this did not start until the big box stores began to take over the industry. And when they did, it was all about marketing. Prior to that, the ma and pa shops were all about the fish. Now, it's not about the fish. It's about marketing dry goods, getting you to buy something. They would rather sell you a sick fish and have you bring it back in dead because they know when you come back in that store, you're going to pick up one or two or three things that you had no intention of buying, on top of which you're going to buy some kind of product that's going to keep the rest of the fish from dying, so they say. So we're fighting an uphill battle here, guys. And it's a bit of a struggle. But I tell you what, it's really fun. It really is fun. And what's happening is we're coming up with legitimate ways, legitimate means of being able to maintain a completely different kind of environment that is healthy for fish and plants and microfauna and all of the life that's involved in creating a system like this. I don't know how many of you are not familiar. This tank, oh, that's a betta. There's the betta right there, see her? This tank is 20 years old. 22 to be precise. That's a little Formosa. That's a full-grown male. He's a little better than 1/4 of an inch long. Not quite half an inch. He might be half an inch. 20 years old. No filter. Loaded with plants. Fish healthy and happy. Look at that. And the bottom is a muck bottom. There's some cory cats in here. The little habrosus. Pygmy cories. They're right there. What's one? That's another Formosa. Pencil fish. That's what we're doing. We're doing natural environments. And we ain't got 150,000. But I tell you, by God, we're going to get there. We absolutely are going to get there. Let's see, I need to move this so I can read. What else? Discord, want to grow my hornwort. J-Dog. J-Dog is an old friend. He's called me last night. We just hung out yesterday afternoon on the phone for, I don't know, half an hour. When I was in Florida, we got to know each other. He was down at the shop quite a lot, so we had a lot of fun. Silver Creek has a comment here. If I haven't lost it, I've lost it. Made it to this stream. I have to rewatch it. Oh, Joe Steed said, Joe Sneed, yes, said he just made it to the. You know what? I think. Can I make it bigger? I can. But now I gotta move the camera again. All right. Let's see. Thank you. Nightbot is here. Nightbot is an automatic device that. I'm Silver Creek. There it is. J-Dog. If you ever have dragonfly, definitely cover it. They lay their eggs on. Now, here's the thing about dragonflies. If you have dragonfly and you fish them, I've had them in my fish room. They'll get around water, any kind of water, doesn't matter. They will fly, they'll hover over it and dip their tail. The female, she dips her tail. And every time she dips her tail, she lays an egg. If she dips her tail 5 times over a tank, she's laid 5 eggs. Dips her tail. It's just that quick. It's bim, 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 bim. Lays an egg, lays an egg, lays an egg. You don't want them in your fish room. I mean, they're cool and all, but you're going to have dragonfly larvae. Now, they're not going to bother anything until they get big enough, but they will do a number on your microfauna. Rose Lilacs. Rose Lilacs just subscribed. Welcome, Rose Lilacs. Nice to have you with us. We were on the glass cover thing. Mainly, I like glass covers to keep evaporation down. This tank is about a half an inch low. I should have videoed this. My brother gave me a little tiny wet vac. I was looking for one. I was going to buy one, but he had one that he didn't want, so he gave it to me. And I used it to vacuum the duckweed out of my tank. It works brilliantly. Much better than a net. You got to hold it up a little high because you don't want to just suck a lot of water out. But you can get every single leaf that way. Takes a while. You got to work at it a bit, but you can finally get rid of duckweed if you've a mind to get rid of duckweed, which I prefer not to have because it takes too much light away from all these plants I got in here. Josh Michaels. Give you a wrench. Let's see. Oh, Corporal Jagger is here. He just got a bunch of plants yesterday. How are they doing? Strip lights on Amazon. Yeah, that's what I've got. That's what all these are. I buy cheap lights, $10 lights. That's all I spend on lights, $10. LED strip lights. I've got 2 or 3 different kinds. Look at this. I mean, give you an idea. Look at that. I mean, is that incredible? You can't even see it, it's so bright. I can't even look at it, it's so bright. I got 2 of those. I think those were $15. And they're 24 inches, so I've got 2 of them on this tank. Only problem with them is the plug drops out, so I've got to tape the plug in place. My foot's fine. Wow. I got a story. I told this story yesterday. I shouldn't tell this story. Yeah. I don't think I've told this story. Andy called me, yesterday, bragging about the rats he's been catching in his house. He's rented a room. Nice house, but rats. I mean, in Florida, you have rats. There's nothing for it. He caught 8 rats, he said. So I said, I got a story about rats. Well, I was living with Leonard. This is an old ramshackle, 40-year-old, double-wide roadhouse sitting in a park in an absolutely spectacular lot right on the creek. Beautiful location. Ramshackle house. Had rats. And we were fighting the rats all the time. Well, one night I heard a rustling and I woke up and I listened to make sure I heard it. And sure enough, after a minute or two, there was this. That's all it was. So I flicked on the light and I got up and I walked over and I didn't see anything. And then all of a sudden, I moved a chair and there it was running in circles. And I took my foot and I stomped on it. I was barefoot. And after I did that, I realized I better stay there and hold it down till it's dead, or it'll bite my foot. So I held it down until it was dead. And then I picked it up, and it was 3 o'clock in the morning. I sleep in the nude, have for years. Standing there with this dead rat, 80-year-old man, stark naked. Leonard! Leonard's my roommate. Leonard's 92. Leonard! Leonard got, what do you want? Come here, come here. Got the old man out of bed. Opened the door. There he stands. He wore shorts to bed. I'll give him the benefit of that. He wore jockey shorts. Here we are standing there in the hallway. 3 o'clock in the morning, two old men looking at this dead rat. Well, that's my rat story. Ah, glory. What else is going on here? Yeah, so I'm looking for glass right now. I checked a couple of places today. I look for scrap glass. I know how to cut glass. I'm real good at it. So scrap glass works perfectly for me, and I'll find some eventually. Ah, the rat. Tank Aquatic says, "Here comes the rat." Oh, that was back when I ran it, right? Made it to the stream. We did that. New stream day times, J-Dog says. The stream is Sunday evening at 6 o'clock, which is not today. But I was out of town Sunday evening, so I decided I was going to do a stream this week. So here it is. Let's see. Oh, goodness sakes. 3G super chatted 10 bucks. Thank you, Super G. How nice of you. Very much appreciated. You know, we don't make much money on this, and we do spend a lot on this. So those super chats are greatly appreciated. They make a big difference. I gotta move the camera so I can read things. Oh, did you ever had to burn a tank? Ever have to burn a tank? I can remember years ago having a tank that no matter what I did, it was a sick tank. Just, I don't know what it was. Probably it had something toxic in, I think this was a metal frame, an old metal frame tank. It probably had something toxic in the seams. Could not keep fish alive in that tank. Yeah, I got rid of the tank. That's about the only one I've ever really had to burn. Big box stores are all about marketing, sales, and bad advice. That's it. It's absolutely right. Mr. V says, I haven't fed my fish since I found your channel. Well, you must have a really good food web, Mr. V. Congratulations. That ain't all that easy to do. Good job. Huh, J-Dog. Bought my first cichlids from PetSmart. Died and got eaten in less than 24 hours. Yeah, here's something else that's significant. If you have a fish that's missing, a little fish, it's just gone, you know what happened to it. A fish that dies will be eaten, bones included, in a matter of a few hours. It'll disappear. Once a fish dies, it's food for everybody. The microscopic critters get to it. It begins releasing. Here's a 3J has just given us a second $10 super chat. Thank you. Greatly appreciate. Thank you, 3G. That's very kind. Very nice. Do really sincerely appreciate it. Oh, be-do. Let's see. Yes, Nightbot saying check out the new website, father.fish. Father.fish. It's going to be a really cool website. Right now we've got a store up. We've got a link to Discord and a few other things. Haven't done a whole lot with it yet, but it's gonna be cool. You're gonna like it. It'll be a busy place. While we're on the subject of busy places, Discord has now gotten to the point where I've given up trying to keep up. There's so many people over there in so many different conversations, and it's all delineated. I mean, you can pick and choose what you want to talk about, And there's a topic I'm sure that you're going to appreciate. Corporal Jager has just donated 20 bucks. Thank you, Corporal Jager. You know what? I think I should be able to put these up. Can I? I don't know. It's been so long, I don't know how to do it. Is it up? It's not up. How about hide user, remove moderator, remove report, go to channel, buy your own super chat. Well, used to be able to put them up. Can I not do that anymore? I guess. I don't know. Is it up on YouTube? No. Well, y'all can see it. I mean, it's right there. I can't get it on the screen. Don't know how. All right. Well, thank you all. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Corporal Jager. I just sent him. He sent me some money and said, send me plants. So I did. I just sent him a lot of really nice plants. It was kind of a lot of money. So I sent him a lot of plants. Barry Klein. Thank you, Barry Klein, for your $10 super chat. He says, set up a new 20 long using father fish method a couple of weeks ago. Put in some coolie loaches and dipistogrammas. Wow. And the cichlids they are now guarding eggs. Love the method. Wow. You're going to love watching those apistos shepherd around their babies. They are really good about that. That'll be a lot of fun. Try to get some video of that and post it on Discord. I was talking about Discord a minute ago. You can put little videos up there, links if you have them, any kind of pictures, chat about anything at all, and have somebody to talk with. It's just an enormous amount of fun. Thank you, Barry. Thank you, Corporal Jager. And thank you, 3G. You guys are amazing. Do very much appreciate it. Corporal Jager says the plants are great. Can't wait to post pictures once I'm done on post on Discord. Right? Absolutely. Heavy Arms is here. Hello, Heavy Arms. Let me get you a wrench. How are we doing here now? Is the algorithm getting out? I don't know. I've had on, it seems like every Christmas I get a sudden spurt of interest and go to the next level, and I'm on the next level now. The next level is the getting to 20,000 level. So I will be there we're doing right now about 1,000, more than 1,000 subscribers a month. It's 20, 30, 40 a day. So 1,000 a month, say. So by this summer, we'll be at 20,000. By Christmas, we should be at 25 or certainly close to it. We would like to get to 100,000. The goal is to get to 100,000. That's a dream. It's just a wild and crazy dream. But if we don't dream, we don't make it. So the goal is 100,000 by the end of the year. in a really old established tank that has gravel, it would be okay to cap the gravel with sand. I'm wondering if root plants will thrive. Yes, they will. And they'll appreciate it because it will begin to create the kind of nutrient that they're looking for. Um, if it's a crown rooted tank, a rooted plant, like a sword plant that has a crown on it, you may have to jiggle it a little bit to get it up. If you put half an inch of sand, it'll be fine. An inch of sand may begin to bury it. But usually they'll also work them, they will work themselves up. So you may need to jiggle it a little bit to get it up. Stem plants doesn't make a bit of difference. They have deep roots. They don't have a crown. The crown is the key. The crown is the section the leaves grow out of. So it's a plant. If it's a plant that grows like this is the crown right here. That's what's down right at the surface of the substrate. If you bury that, you could prevent it from growing. The likelihood is that because it's already up, you raise the level a bit, it's going to just keep going, and it'll move that crown up. It'll grow it up to be at the surface. So it's going to compensate for it. As I say, you may need to tug it a little bit. You don't want to do too much of that because the root system of plants has cilia on them. And the cilia are what does all the work. And if you move the root, jerk the plant, move the root, all of those cilia are broken off. They're brittle, and they just break off. It grows new ones very quickly. In a matter of a day or two, it's got new cilia. So you're not going to really hurt it. You will stunt it a little bit, but it'll be momentary, and you probably won't even notice it. Father Fish suggests this 3G. Suggested capping an underground filter I had a few years ago. Now it's one of my best planted tanks. Yeah, just turn the filter off and cap it. Leave all that mulch and dirt in there. Don't clean it, because that's what's going to form the foundation of the humic basis of the tank. When handling plants, be sure not to damage the crown or the roots. Leaves can grow back. Absolutely. Absolutely. Horizon Broadband is here. I didn't get a notification. That's because there was none. We just kind of happened. It was a happening. We are a happening. We have 60 viewers. We've been here for a little better than an hour. Welcome. That's Luke. Luke's going to be pissed off with me because can I turn up the volume a bit? Go for it, Luke. We had no volume when we started this. I don't know what happened. I opened it and opened the mixer, and there was a cam that was muted. So I unmuted it, and now it's fine. Yes, turn the volume up. Luke has carte blanche to get into my computer and screw around with it to his heart's content. Here he is. Zoho is with us. And here goes the volume. We're cranking it up. Long time no see, JVBM. Nice to see you. I'm not going to be able to mess with it because Luke's messing with the mouse. Only have one mouse. What if you can have two mouses? Mice? Two mice. Can you have two mice? Mouses. Two mouses. They're not mice. They're mouses. Can you have two mouses on the same screen? That would be interesting. I wonder, is that possible? Luke, is that possible? He's fiddling around there. Who's this? Giovanni Roma. Giovanni Roma. Hello, Giovanni. Nice to see you. Did you make those strip lights or buy them? I bought them. I buy 8 in a box. I think it's 8 for $50. Maybe it's 6. I don't remember. I think it's 8. 4-foot strip lights. What a deal. 60-watt lights. And I just put a bunch of them on the tank, that's all. You know, they're cheap. They don't cost anything to run. And you can attach them, you can run them in a circuit in series. You can run them in series and they're just fine. What else is here? Listening while clearing snow. Wow. We have not had the first flake of snow in Maryland. We just haven't had, it's been cold. We've had a few freezing nights. It was fairly cold today. We've had maybe a week of cold weather. Tomorrow it's going to be 70 degrees. Feels like middle of February in Maryland, and it's 70 degrees. Are they LEDs or T5s? They're LEDs. I don't have any T5s anymore. I've given up on T5s. I only have LEDs. Everything is LED. It's cheap and dependable. When the LEDs first came out, they were expensive and they were not dependable. They couldn't get the bulb and the driver together. But they got that worked out. It's fine. And it's cheap and probably more light than you can otherwise have and very cheap to operate. Tanked aquatics, only one time to clear snow. Volume is better now, Luke says. Good. I'm glad. Glory. Giovanni, I have aquatic plants that are just turning submersible and growing new, better stems. When should I cut them off and replant? That's a really good question. And there is an answer to it. And it's a perfectly legitimate answer. The thing about stem plants is they grow one of two ways. They will grow up and hit the water surface, and at that point they will either bend over and keep going. Anacharis is a plant like this. Hornwort's another one. It'll just keep growing and growing. It may send off shoots, but it will not immerse. It will not come out of the water. Those plants, you can trim them if you want to create a forest of them, but you don't need to. The other plant that grows immersed, it emerges from the water. The Ludwigia, the Bacopa are a couple that do that. The sword plants will do it. Once they come up out of the water, they get a few leaves out of the water, and almost immediately they drop all of the leaves on their stem that are in the water. Why did they do that? What are we doing now? We're playing with the screen while I'm talking. They do that because the leaves that are out of the water are able to get more nutrients, more air, and more sunlight than the leaves that are in the water. And so they don't need those leaves in the water anymore. There's a certain cost to a plant to having leaves. They have to maintain it. It has to be kept healthy and alive. They have to feed it. They got to spend energy on it. It's like a kid. It's money out of the pocket every day. Money, money, money. So they just drop them because they've got leaves at the top now. So if you have a stem plant and you want the leaves on the stem in the water, that's the point where you clip it. You clip it right as it starts to immerse. and then you put that clipping back down. These leaves are still on the other one. If they have dropped off, if you've been too late and you've missed it, clip it anyway, unless you want it growing out of the tank. I mean, I think that's really cool personally, but you may not want that. Clip it, plant it, and leave the stem, leave the bare stem. It will grow new leaves. It's a living plant. It's an otherwise healthy plant. If it has to grudgingly, here we go again. But I'll tell you what it'll do. It'll sneak one in on you. It'll send a couple of shoots from the top. From the nearest node to the top, it'll send out a shoot, and then maybe another one on the other side, and they'll get up above the water. So it'll try to beat you at your own game. Pretty sneaky, those fleds. Anyway, that's the answer to that. 40 gallon have a pleco and 10 tiger barbs. The ibis. See if we can give you a wrench. There he is. Whoop. What's going on? Oh, you already got one. I don't think I do. There it is. Duff beer. How do you recommend getting rid of red cyno? Oh boy. Okay, here's the thing about red cyno. Cyanobacteria, which is it's a bacteria. It's an algae growing bacteria. It grows like algae. Grows on the surface. It does that because there are profoundly excessive nutrients in the water. Profoundly. So much so that algae isn't even able to take care of it. So the bacteria takes over. Now, simply removing it doesn't get rid of it, because you still have the cause. You need to deal with the cause. With so many things like this, we look at the effect. We don't like the effect, and so we deal with the effect. The cause is still there. Whatever caused that effect is still there. You haven't solved the problem. You get my meaning? You've simply covered it up a little bit. You know, you put the proverbial cat poop under the sand or under the rug. You haven't dealt with the problem. The problem with cyano is excess nutrients. You have to control that. It takes a little time to do it. You can put a chemical in there, it'll kill it. And it will. It'll kill it. And it'll keep it dead for a while. Maybe a month or so. But unless you solve the underlying problem, it or something as bad or worse is going to be back. You have to solve the problem. As with so many things, here we go. Let's go back to the big box technique. Go back to the sterile tank. What do you do with this sterile tank? You put a fish in it. Now that fish has all kinds of bacteria living on it. It has a slime coat. That slime coat is being attacked by all kinds of critters. It is not pristine by any stretch. You take that slime coat off and look at it under a microscope, dye it a little bit, you'd be shocked what's in there. It's astounding. But the slime coat is thick enough to prevent those buggers from getting into the fish, unless there's nothing controlling them. Now, The pristine, bare, sterile tank will control it because there are no nutrients in there until what? Until you put nutrients in the form of fish food. Fish food. I don't think I have any fish food. No, that's not true. I do have fish food. I have decapsulated brine shrimp eggs, and I have an extremely high quality micro pellet that I feed with my little fish. I mix them up. I do a pinch once a day, just a thin pinch, not a fat pinch, a thin pinch once a day in each of my tanks. I do it because I'm trying to get the fish to spawn. If I didn't care about that, I wouldn't do it, because there's enough microfauna in these tanks to keep them going. But they're not going. The females are not going to egg up, and the males are not going to get a strong sperm pack unless they have excessive nutrition. So I give them excessive nutrition. Now, I've got millions of secondary eaters in those tanks. So there ain't a thing I'm putting in there that isn't going to get eaten up right away. What the fish don't get, the macrobiotics will. So it's not going to sit there and rot and form a bacteria. And that's what happens in these sterile tanks. The food sits there, bacteria attack it, and it fouls the tank. More to the point, it creates foul conditions that are not healthy for the fish, and the fish get weakened by it and become sick. And then the first bugger that comes along, which may drop out of the sky into the tank. You know, there's a lot of stuff that's in the air that gets in the water and that thrives in the right conditions. That could be exactly what attacks the fish. Duff beer, adding nutrients when you feed the fish. That's it. That's it. Exactly, DC. Stop feeding the fish. To get rid of cyano. Don't even worry about trying to take it out. You can cap it. You can put some sand on top of it. That will actually help because it'll get more of the nutrients down in the sand bed. Add a ½ inch of sand right on top of it. And you may need another, if it's a shallow substrate, you want to get it to 3 inches. You want 3 inches of substrate. If you have 3 inches of substrate, you will never get cyano, because the nutrients are going to get down inside there where you won't ever see what's going on. It'll be being attacked by other kinds of bacteria, not light sensitive bacteria, which is what the cyano is. See, DJ is saying, Duff beer, I've got 8 pencils, 6 cardinals, and in 3 weeks I had the tank set up. I've only fed the fish 4 times using commercial food. If you have a natural food web, a natural food web is material that you bring in from that gunky old pond out back and put in your fish tank. Now, I know the screams of horror that you're going to hear from everybody who is witless about Mother Nature. But do it anyway, because Father Fish said so. And it will create in your aquarium a natural environment that will have life thriving, such that your small fish will find enough macrobiotic critters to be able to keep themselves satisfied. And all of the waste that's produced will be broken down and used to feed the plants you're then going to be able to grow in your tank. They survive on the microorganisms. That's micro and macro, right? Also once put a half cup of water from my live food culture. Yep, he's got Cyclopens rotifer. Good job, DX. Yeah, that's ideal. If you've got some Daphne culture, rotifer, uh, little shrimp, fairy shrimp, if you've got some cultures of those or can find those, put them in your tank. In a large enough number, they're not going to get eaten up all at once. Now, Daphne are hopeless. Daphne are these stupid little critters that just swim around in the water, blithely and happily all day long until somebody grabs them and eats them. You don't find Daphne in any body of water that has fish in it. They're just too dumb to hide. They're out there doing their thing, and they're perfect in a pond that has no fish in it. But you can find them. Sometimes they'll be down if you get a culture of mulm and put it in a resurrection jar and watch it. You may find some Daphne beginning to grow in there. They do lay eggs, and there may be some eggs in that, but they're up swimming around. They may be down when you catch them. When you catch this, you may have some that are down in the in the the leaves, but likely they're eggs that you've been able to catch. Daphne hunting season soon, right? Won't be long. I'm looking forward to getting out this spring. I've been scoping out all the bodies of water within a 5-mile radius, and I think I got them pretty well down. I'm still finding new ones, though. I'm amazed how much there is. I've been working on losing weight, too, so I can get down those banks to be able to get some stuff, because most of them have steep banks. Right. Some of my lucky days is saying some of my plants are not growing like before. Do not put liquid fertilizer in that tank. If you want to press some root tabs into the substrate right alongside those plants, you can do that. Generally speaking, fertilizers are the last thing you want to do, because the way plants grow is through their roots. They secrete certain chemicals that cause a reaction in the soil. That reaction creates the very nutrient that the plant is looking for. So it's learned how to convert the nutrients that are in there to meet its immediate needs, depending on whether it's fruiting, growing, leafing, whatever stage the plant is at, it needs a different nutrient. This is one of the things we're learning with our research group over on Discord. So what you want is a substrate that is rich in minerals and biologicals, organics, so that when the plant has a certain need, it'll be able to create the nutrient to meet that need. If you put fertilizer in there, it short circuits that process. It actually stops the plant from releasing those chemicals, those hormones, whatever they are, that create in the soil the nutrient it needs. So they become dependent upon the fertilizer. So don't use fertilizers. I used to put Osmocote in until I discovered this. I don't do that anymore. I'm just all about natural ingredients. I even started purchasing Myocorvosa, whatever it is, the fungus seed, fungus fibers that I'm going to be including in my nutrient packs, my supplements. So there will be fungus in there as well. Fungus is a fundamental component of a healthy substrate. It breaks down where bacteria is not able to break down. It's really the first thing that attacks dead material. Don't feed them much at all. Where are we? What time is it? 7:45. We got about 15 minutes, guys. Mine is a bit mushy today, says ABS. Mine is every day, ABS. 50 likes. We need 50 likes. We got 59 viewers. Luke. I don't know what he's talking about. Talking to Luke. Good night, everyone. Josh is leaving. Caught the COVID the other day. Oh, dear. Well, get well. Get well, Josh. Goodness sakes. Don't need you sick. I have a tank that's been up and running for about 6 months. This is Divas. Fully planted with a sponge filter. Want it to be filterless. And no tech. What do I need to do to achieve this? Well, what I would suggest is that you take matters into your hands and disconnect the hose from the filter. Leave the filter in there. You could unplug the tank, but I don't recommend, unplug the pump, but I don't recommend you do that. And the reason is that those hoses have a funny way of creating siphons. And if you leave it turned off in there, in some peculiar way, water manages to creep up and it can start siphoning the water out of the tank. Don't leave unused hoses hanging in your tank. Just don't do it. Disconnect the hose, take it out of the tank, and see how it goes. If you're having a problem, if the water's a little cloudy, that'll be the first thing you'll notice. If the fish are hanging at the top more, then you need that air. Chances are you don't. Just disconnect it and see how it does. That's the 5 senses. The 5 senses are the key to healthy fish keeping. They are your primary tools and the most important tools. Watch the video that came out just today. It explains all of that in excruciating detail. And it's a cool video besides. Oh, that's an extended conversation going on here, guys. You all do better with each other. What is this? Denroy. Hey, Denroy. I don't know if my question was answered. I was driving home. How long should you keep sand substrate in your fish tank? How long should you keep sand substrate in your fish tank? Well, my suggestion is you keep it in there until the tank can no longer exist in that or any other place. So long as you got the tank set up, don't touch the sand. 50 years is not too long. How long does sand stay on a beach? How long is the sand on the beach? How long is there sand on the beach? Might be the better question. As long as you have the tank set up, leave the sand in there. You may occasionally need to add a little more. I really ought to add another half inch of sand here. I'm kind of loath to do it because I've done that once or maybe twice, and it's up to almost 5 inches in a 14-inch tank. So any more, and it's going to be half full. And I don't think I want to do that. So I'm not going to do anything. Everything is alive and healthy, growing, being pretty, doing its thing. I'm just going to leave it. It's got mulch on top. I'm putting more leaves in. You can see the leaves. The leaves right there. See the leaves? I got to get more in. More leaves. Here's some here. Leaves here. So that's what I'm doing. I'm creating food web. But that sand started as, I think, I did not create this tank. I believe it started as a sand tank. I don't think it's ever had dirt in it. But it does now, by golly. That's something. So, yeah. Leave it. It's doing fine. It ain't hurting nothing. No fish fertilizer. As on older videos. Yeah, that's right. I learned. You gotta learn. Having Tommy and Laura research this has taught me stuff I didn't know. The progression is one I didn't know. I sensed it. I understood it. Hadn't put a word to it. These things progress. They change. Everything in nature changes. It changes gradually and slowly, but it changes. This tank can do things today it couldn't do 5 years ago. The other word is Periphyton. 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 Alex has been using the word. Periphyton is the material that grows on substrate. Now, that's not the mulm. That's not what it is. It is microorganisms forming a crust on hardscape. I have very little hardscape in here. And what I have is pretty new. It takes years for that to develop. If you find rocks or other things, wood maybe, rocks mainly, that are in a pond and they have like a slime coat on them, you want to put them in a bucket and bring them back because they are full of periphyton, which is the foundation of the food web. It's the very best thing you can have in your tank. It will instantly stabilize the tank. So be on the lookout when you're out collecting for slimy rocks. Rocks that have algae growing on them. Anything that's got an incrustation. Collect that, save that, put it in water to keep it alive, bring it back and put it right in the tank. It'll be absolutely, it will be a miracle in your tank. Because it will advance your tank 20 years into the future. It takes years for that to develop. I don't have any of it in here, partly because I don't have any hardscape. See, I didn't know that. That's all new stuff that we're just learning by doing this. Periphyton, very, very important, very difficult to achieve. You need to collect it, and once you have, there's all the reason to never change that sand because it grows on the sand as well. So there's some down in here. It's a little hard to see, but you'll see it on rock. Let's see. Uh, Not sure where you live, but if it's not frozen where you are, go out to a pond, gather some of the uppermost layer of the mold from the bottom near the shore, and put it in your tank. Absolutely. Absolutely, DC. I've been doing that all winter. I've been going collecting all winter. I've got buckets outside. I've been putting stuff in the tanks. We're going to start selling live culture. We have it listed now on the website at our store. We're selling live culture. We are also selling a selection of leaves. Now, this will be a 3-month supply of leaves. It'll be a bag of leaves, 3 to 4 different species of leaves that break down at various speeds. So you have a mix that's gonna provide a variety of nutrients in the tank. In addition to which, we also have now for sale live culture that you get in a little plastic baggie and you simply release it into your tank. Ta-da, ta-da, we're getting there. I want to start selling this this Periphyton. That'll be a kick. I got to find it growing on some thin things that are not too heavy. Research article on Periphyton, yes. Amazing stuff. Yeah, dude, look it up. Look it up. It is worth pursuing. Claire Bear. Hello, Claire Bear. Lucky days. Did I give you a wrench? I thought I did. I did. Let's see, Claire Bear. I am not keeping up on the chat at all. It's hopeless. It's growing on my plants, driftwood, and gravel. I use a hydrogen peroxide dip, killed many leaves on the plants. Yeah, don't do that. You don't need to kill anything. What you need is more life, not less. The reason you have these problems is because there is not enough life in your tank. You don't solve the problem by killing things. You solve the problem by increasing the variety, the diversity, and the strength of the life that's in the tank. You need to wrap your head around a different way of doing things. The way you've been taught, the way we've always been taught, is frankly garbage. It is garbage. And it needs to be consigned to the garbage pit where it belongs. There is no such thing as a healthy, sterile tank. That is a contradiction in terms. If it is sterile, it is how can I put a petri dish for disease. All you need to do is give it access to the air, and it becomes disease-ridden. Huh. Talking about bringing the mammoth back to counter global warming. I heard about that. It's fascinating. Mulberry, white oak, red oak, and walnut. Excellent. Excellent. Okay, we are at 7:55. We're going to wind it up here. Not a father fish tank, only gravel. Don't dump that gravel. Put 2 inches of sand on top of it. Do it a half an inch every 3 to 4 days. Half an inch a week is okay until you get to 2 inches, and you will have a deep substrate that will be absolutely perfect. If you have a gravel tank, you don't need to tear it down. Just add sand. Half an inch a day. You can do half an inch a day 4 days in a row. You can put the entire 2 inches right in. Or you can do it gradually. Doesn't really matter. Just get 2 inches on top of that gravel, and you'll be home free. you will have everything that you need. That gravel already contains all kind of microorganic life, bacteria, fungus, archaea, everything it needs. It simply needs to be in an anaerobic environment, and you create that by putting sand on top. That's it. It'll be perfect. Cover with sand. Hello and goodbye. Here, fishy. Oh, I missed fishy. Here, fishy. Nice to see you, my love. Hope you're well. And hope everything is wonderful with the kiddos. Aquafunk is here. Came at the wrong time. Well, yeah, you did. We've been here 2 hours. All right. Clearberry, yes. Guppies will be delighted. And Sammy's leaving. Good night, Sammy. Hi, bye, here, fishy. Here, fishy is such a dear. She did some songs for me. We'll get into playing some songs. Haven't done that in an age. That'd be great fun. All right, we're down to it here, guys. We've been here 2 hours. We're at 63 viewers. Didn't get up close to 100, but then there was no announcement, and I've not done this time slot. So I'm really unfamiliar with how it works and who's here. There probably are all kinds of people I'm stepping all over. My apologies. I'll be back Sunday. Be here Sunday. Make sure you catch the video. Come over to Discord. Please join us on Discord. It is a whirlwind of activity over there. Many very exciting things going on. Be a part of that, please. And love you all. Bye for now. How do I get out of here? There we go. We're going to go away now. Let me hit the bottom. Ash Claire. Oh, okay. Claire Bear is Ash Claire. Yes. Wonderful. Oh. One wanderer. Good night. Bye here, fishy. ABS. Bye. Bye, everybody. Love you all. Barbie doll. Bye, Barbie doll. Sammy WH. Sammy's been here for 2 hours. Sammy was here way back in the beginning. Bye for now. Thank you, Luke, for your help. Appreciate you more than you know. More than I can say. And thank you especially, Dead Man's Will, for the magnificent video today. It is just stupendous.